Boo! My name is Kevin Perger, and welcome to another edition in Defunctland. For background/context on this series, please visit defunctland.com. That's right, I rebranded The Purge to focus solely on Defunctland. While I enjoyed my other content, I think it was confusing for new visitors, so I think this was the right decision. I'm going to be pumping out some theme park related articles soon that are unique from the YouTube series, so stay tuned for those. Also, this is where we will be posting updates on Defunctland VR, and you can look at some of our designer profiles now. If you have 3D modeling or graphic design experience and want to help with the project, we are assigning tasks on the first attraction. The site works whether you go to thepurge.com or defunctland.com, so go check it out. After this video, of course. Today, we will be attempting to resurrect Universal's stage show, Ghostbusters Spooktacular. This attraction played at Universal Studios Orlando from June 7th, 1990 to November 9th, 1996. This show was incredibly popular. I mean, just look at how many people suggested it. In 1984, the movie Ghostbusters was released. It was of course a huge hit, being praised for its witty comedic style, acting performances, and special effects. More importantly to the studio, its unique designs were memorable, and quickly became ingrained in popular culture. This meant merchandise galore. Action figures, costumes, TV shows, sequels, soft reboots, high fructose corn syrup, pasta, Japanese burgers, Ray Parker Jr., underwear, ceiling fans, and most importantly, amusement park attractions. After the film's release, Bally Manufacturing, an entertainment company that had recently bought Six Flags amusement parks, began development on a Ghostbusters ride called the Hauntington Hotel. It is important to note that Ghostbusters was distributed by Columbia Pictures, a Sony company, and not Universal. Universal obtained the theme park license to Ghostbusters, as they do with many of their attractions. This is why it was feasible for Six Flags to create their own ride based on the franchise. Bally's attraction will be a dark ride, similar to the Haunted Mansion, equipped with ghost cannons, similar to Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, Toy Story Midway Mania, or Men in Black Alien Attack. While the Hauntington Hotel would be considered average by today's standards, the ride would have been the first of its kind in the mid-80s. It was never built, however, because in 1987, Bally sold Six Flags, and the attraction was never heard about again. But Ghostbusters would still find its way to amusement parks with the opening of Universal Studios Florida.
Two of the most popular movies of the 1980s were Ghostbusters and its sequel. But the full-scale, live-action Ghostbusters set here features the largest single magic illusion ever created. It isn't a movie, it's real.
Hi, I'm Lindy, and welcome to the world of Ghostbusters. On this rooftop, a spectacular battle was fought with an ancient demigod known as Gozer. That was strange. Thank you, Doctor, for saving my life.
Well, this is gonna cost you, you know. Tell your boss the check can be made out to Ghostbusters!
The first version of the show opened with the park in 1990. This iteration had no pre-show, so the concept was introduced to the audience through a female tour guide. As she is talking about the Ghostbusters franchises, she mentions that she does not believe in ghosts in real life. Slimer then appears behind her, followed by Gozer and other ghosts. Gozer attacks the tour guide before the Ghostbusters enter to save her. Gozer dodges the beams from their proton packs and escapes through the gates just as Stay Puft rises up. The Ghostbusters literally toast him, causing him to turn red and emit smoke. The tour guide returns to thank the Ghostbusters for their help, and everyone ends the show by singing the chorus of the Ghostbusters theme song. The effects were elaborate. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was below the stage for the majority of the show. He first rises into view through darkness and misdirection, and his exit was masked by a cloud of fog. Universal claimed that there was 11.2 tons of liquid nitrogen produced every day for the show. The Stay Puft animatronic was 22 feet high, 22 feet wide, and 18 feet deep. This is the only animatronic that appeared on stage, but it was not the only ghost. The majority of the ghost animatronics were actually on a separate stage, positioned in such a way to pull off the Pepper's Ghost effect. Pepper's Ghost is a live special effect in which a separate room is hidden from the audience's view. When the stage lights are dimmed and an object in the second room is illuminated, a piece of angled glass makes the image appear on stage, slightly transparent. This effect is most famous for being used in the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland as well as in other theme parks. In Ghostbusters Spooktacular, a large piece of glass separated the stage from the audience, allowing the ghosts to appear from multiple positions. The animatronics rose into place, illuminating on cue so that the actors could hit their marks and destroy the ghosts. Altogether, the animatronics from the show weighed more than 19 tons, and they were designed once again by Peter Alexander's Ride and Show Engineering. In 1993, the show underwent a huge revamping. A pre-show was added with Ghostbusters character Louis Tully, who was promoting the Ghostbusters services.
These people were miserable with their low-paying, go-nowhere jobs.
I was a school teacher.
I was a short-order cook.
Ja, wurde bekoste socialistische Respubliki.
He begins a demonstration with 3 volunteers. Each has a fun little gag that goes along with it. Louis then tells the guests to enter the theater. Apart from the new pre-show, the main show was also drastically changed. There is now a clear narrative, as Louis comes out onto stage and continues to try to sell the audience ghostbusting equipment. He is interrupted by the government agent from the first film, Walter Peck, who declares he is shutting down the Ghostbusters for fraud. Louis attempts to use the audience to convince Walter that ghosts exist, but Walter doesn't believe them. Louis quickly turns the lights off. A ghost appears, trying to scare Walter, but it is actually just Louis controlling a simulation. Walter reiterates that he is shutting them down before stumbling onto the Temple of Gozer. Ghosts begin to appear behind Walter, and Gozer appears and attacks him, just as the Ghostbusters and Louis enter. Here until the end is similar to the original production, but instead of 6 minutes with the Ghostbusters, we now only have 2. It ends as Walter runs in, covered in marshmallow, and the Ghostbusters thank the audience for watching. An interview with one of the technicians provides a hilarious anecdote that occurred during the run of the second version of the show. The funniest thing that I ever saw at Ghostbusters happened one day shortly before the show closed. I was in the booth with another technician, and we noticed that there were no Ghostbusters on stage. Louis Tully was running around the stage in a proton pack, trying to make every single blocking point for all of the Ghostbusters to zap the ghosts, and screaming at the top of his lungs for some help. It turns out that the rest of the cast were hanging out backstage and hadn't heard their places call, causing them to completely miss the show. They all went out at the end and did a meet and greet after, and we never spoke of the performance again. The attraction, like most at Universal Studios, had its own gift shop, the Paranormal Store. Some of the actors would appear here after the show, and some of the great merchandise I mentioned earlier was sold here. In 1991, an accompanying street show, Street Busters, debuted, which features the team attempting to capture Beetlejuice. The show lasted about 15 minutes, and mainly featured dance performances by the cast. It ceased operation in 1993. The second version of Spooktacular lasted 3 years. Universal closed the attraction, citing that it was time for a change. The show closed on November 9, 1996. 2 years later, it would be replaced by a probable future addition to Defunctland, Twister Ride It Out. On October 1, 2002, nearly 5 years after the closing of Spooktacular, Extreme Ghostbusters: The Great Frightway debuted. It was another street show, nearly identical to Street Busters. This ran until February 25, 2005. This is when Universal supposedly lost the theme park rights to Ghostbusters. Since this, there have been numerous Ghostbusters attractions that have appeared in various amusement parks throughout the world. A VR adventure at Madame Tussauds in New York, a laser tag walkthrough at Six Flags Mexico, a dark ride in Dubai, and a 5D film in Germany are a few examples. And I'm sure there are more planned for the future. As for Universal, there has been no stated interest in licensing the franchise again for an attraction. And that doesn't look like it's going to change, as the future of the Ghostbusters franchise itself seems to be in limbo currently. So why did it close? Well, if you remember the previous Universal installments of Defunctland, you might already know. They wanted a fresh, new franchise. The movie Twister debuted in theaters in May of 1996, and Spooktacular closed in November of that same year. Twister was a success, and it was a Universal film that didn't require additional licenses to be used in their parks. At the time, it made sense from a business perspective, but looking back, it is just another illustration of Universal's misjudgment of franchise longevity. They are willing to close attractions based on staples of pop culture, such as King Kong, Jaws, Back to the Future, and Ghostbusters, but at the same time, they keep around attractions based on properties such as Dudley Do-Right and Waterworld. Ghostbusters Spooktacular was a fan favorite, and its closure was another step in erasing the original concept and theming of Universal Studios Florida. This problem is still relevant today, and if Universal continues to close its best attractions, the entire park will soon become a creativity ghost town. And then, who are you gonna call?
What's great about the special effects in the Ghostbusters attraction is that they're full scale. You get to see the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. His head alone is 22 feet in diameter, and he's full size. And you get to feel just like you were there on the set when they were filming that fantastic film. And if you remember the great finale sequence, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man crawled up that building and the Ghostbusters blasted him. Well, you're going to be right there, like you were standing just a little bit to one side of the Ghostbusters when all that was happening. And that's a pretty unique experience.
So that is the history of Ghostbusters Spooktacular. Along with the new website, there is a new poll to determine the placement of a few Defunctland attractions and the titles of more areas of the park. That's in the description, where you will also find a link to GhostbustersHQ.net that has some great photos from the attraction, and some interesting information as well. Plus, check out the link to /film to learn more about the Ghostbusters attraction that was never built. To learn more about where the remains of Ghostbusters Spooktacular are today and our plans to recreate it, please visit Defunctland.com, with the link in the description below. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe.